Check what's poppin' YouTube. So we're nearly at the end of our journey into Dalek lore, and now we're at the Steven Moffatt era. So originally I'd said I was going to do the Moffatt and Chibnall era as one video, but I decided I'm going to split them up, because there are actually a surprisingly large number of Dalek stories in the Moffatt era. We do have a few issues, because the Daleks show up in a lot of Moffatt stories, but they're not always the focal point of the story. There's a lot of cameos here and there, which was Moffat's way of getting around the nation-state's rule that the Daleks must appear in every season. But there are lots of other episodes where the Daleks feature with a bunch of other monsters, or they're just kind of there and aren't really the point of the story. We also have to address, the elephant in the room here, which is that the Daleks are pretty bad in the Moffatt era, but we'll just get into it. So, after the Daleks' latest final definitive demise at the end of Journey's End, they showed up 3 episodes into Matt Smith's run, with Victory of the Daleks. So another of the Daleks. This is the first of the Daleks episode since Evolution of the Daleks, but anyway, it's kind of cool that they continued that. And so anyway, in this episode the Doctor gets a call from Winston Churchill of all people. Basically the Daleks have shown up in World War II, but they're now claiming that they have been created by this scientist guy called Bracewell, and he calls them Ironsides, and he's given them to the Allies to help them destroy the Nazis. Now the Doctor is very upset and confused to see the Daleks here. For one, they should have been utterly destroyed, and he is trying to convince Churchill that the Daleks are evil aliens. However, Amy doesn't back him up because of the crack in her wall, so she's forgotten the whole planets in the sky thing. And this is one of the few episodes, actually, where the Daleks follow the RTD continuity in the Moffatt era. After this episode, Moffatt basically ignores a lot of it. Anyway, basically the Daleks troll the Doctor into having an outburst and declaring them as the Daleks.
I am your soldier! I saved the whole of reality from you. I am the Doctor. And you are the Daleks.
Then they drop the act and, beam back up to their spaceship after revealing that Bracewell is actually a robot that they created. Anyway, the Doctor chases them and confronts them on the spaceship. Somehow one Dalek ship and 3 Daleks have survived the events of Journey's End with literally no explanation. But anyway, these 3 Daleks have managed to find a progenitor machine, which is this magical bullshit device that can just create new pure Daleks and casings and basically everything from scratch somehow. The issue is the progenitor didn't recognise these Daleks as Daleks because they are made from Davros and don't read as pure. So they decided to record a soundbite of the Doctor, their greatest enemy, recognising them as Daleks so the machine will poop out some new Daleks for them. So yeah, this plot is about as thin as a sheet of paper. So anyway, so the Daleks create the new Dalek paradigm, these new super bulky, colourful Power Ranger cosplay Daleks. We now have a white Supreme Dalek, I see what she did there, which looks really good actually, a blue strategist, an orange scientist, a red drone, and the yellow and black Eternal Dalek, which is pretty cool looking, but they never actually explain what this thing is for. Anyway, so the new Daleks destroy the odd ones, which are making a very sus position with their guns. So anyway, to stop the humans from interfering or anything, the Daleks use their ship to turn on all the lights in London because the Blitz is happening, obviously, because this is a British show and we can't get over the Blitz. So yeah. Anyway, on Earth, using Bracewell's big brain energy, the humans have outfitted 3 Spitfires with these gravity bubbles and laser guns and stuff, and so they're spaceships now, and don't think about it. And they attack the Daleks because the Daleks, have a big dish on the bottom of their ship. That is the thing that's lighting up London, so the Nazis can see them during the Blitz.
Let's put London back under cover of darkness. Honey-ho! Come on, my friend. Going in close.
And so the Doctor manages to get off the bridge because the Supreme Dalek misses every shot. And then, this is the beginning of the shit show that is the Moffatt era Daleks. So the Spitfires attack the Daleks and are getting shot down one by one, but the Doctor manages to disable the Dalek shields, and Mark Gatiss manages to destroy the radar dish that is lighting up London. So then the Doctor gets ready to end the Daleks once and for all, but then they pull a final bullshit card. The Supreme Dalek reveals that Bracewell is actually a bomb, even though they weren't the Daleks to actually make him, but say they know anyway, somehow, whatever. and this bomb is powerful enough to destroy the entire world.
Call off the attack, or we will destroy the Earth.
I'm not stupid, mate. You've just played your last card.
Bracewell is a bomb. His power is derived from an oblivion continuum. Call off your attack, or we will detonate the android.
So the Doctor is once again placed in the exact same position he is in Parting of the Ways. I'm not sure if this was actually intentional, but it's very cool that this happened the way it did, where he has to choose between wiping out the Daleks completely or saving the Earth. And he chooses to save the Earth, obviously, and they manage to disarm the Bracewell bomb, but the Daleks open a time corridor and slink off to set up a new Dalek Empire. So they save victory of the Daleks. It's not really that big of a victory. I guess it is a big victory for them, because they just sort of survive, and I understand the whole victory thing is playing on Winston Churchill, but... Anyway, this episode was really poorly received when it was released. I mean, people did not like the new Dalek designs, but I'll get there in a minute. This episode is okay. I like the homage to Power of the Daleks, where the Doctor is the only one who knows the Daleks are the Daleks, and World War II is a great backdrop to the Daleks, given their, inspiration. And the beginning of the episode is a great little bit where the Daleks get played for comedy without actually being treated as a joke, which is a pretty impressive sort of middle ground to hit.
Would you care for some tea?
That would be very nice, thank you.
And I really think this episode hits that sort of goofy quota that only Doctor Who can really do, with the whole British Spitfires fighting Daleks in space, and, manages to keep some of that good old British patriotism that Doctor Who used to have before, the Chibinator took over.
It could have been a lot better. It could have been slightly better written.
But the elephant in the room is the new Paradigm Daleks. So at this time, Doctor Who was reinventing itself. We had a new Doctor, a new showrunner, a new theme song, new intro, new TARDIS, new Sonic Screwdriver, and inevitably, new Daleks. From a storytelling standpoint, I kind of like the new Paradigm Daleks. Moffat clearly wanted to get away from the Time War Daleks and have them as like a constant in the universe again, instead of them just being survivors from the Time War. He clearly wants to take them back to being more like their classic series selves and less like the Russell T Davies Daleks, which is probably for the best, to be honest. The design, however, is a bit of a mixed bag. Now, I like the design of the new Daleks. I think they look, well, I say new, they're like 15 years old, but you know what I mean. I think they look proper intimidating and have regained some of their alien grace that the 60s Daleks had. I like the new eye stalk and the generally more intimidating silhouette. However, the colours are a problem. They look like shit. So I really like the white Supreme Dalek. I think he looks good. He's actually my favourite Supreme Dalek design by far. And I think later when they changed the Strategist and Drone colours to be more metallic, they looked really good. But these Crayola Power Ranger Daleks look like shit. And I don't know why they didn't do the metallic designs at the beginning. Like, people criticise this change as being purely for merchandising, where they could sell 6 Daleks instead of 1 or 2, which seems to be part of it. The colour-coded Dalek ranks is a cool idea, but the colours chosen are just weird. Especially the orange one, like, he looks really bad. But, finally, this is my film education coming through here, but the new designs kind of suck from a practicality standpoint. They're way too big. Daleks were like 5 foot tall before and a bit skinnier. These guys are like 6 foot now and very bulky, and they're probably a pain to block. And just framing them is also probably an absolute pain in the ass. But this is a writing channel, not a filming channel, and so I'm going to sort of brush over that criticism. But it's just something I thought I'd bring up. From a practicality standpoint, I think they would suck to film. But we're going to move on. So we really didn't have to wait long to see the Daleks again. They showed up in the Pandorica Opens and the Big Bang. Now, I didn't really know what to include these episodes initially, because at least in Pandorica Opens, it's not a Dalek story. The Daleks are in it, briefly and barely. However, in Big Bang, the Daleks are the primary... they're not the antagonists exactly, but they're the primary monster that poses a physical threat to the characters, so I am including it. So the Pandorica Opens follows the Doctor, Amy, and River Song trying to find this legendary prison called the Pandorica, which is basically Pandora's box. Basically, the universe is ending because the TARDIS is blowing up, and the Pandorica thing is opening up, and it's said that the most feared being in the universe is trapped inside it, and is now, coming out. So the Doctor and a bunch of Roman legionaries find it underneath the Stonehenge, and basically every Doctor Who villain ever shows up, including that dude that rose through the wrong bucket of water on in Love and Monsters. He's there too, for some reason. And the Daleks are there. Now, the Doctor thinks that they are just fighting over this creature within the Pandorica, but actually it's revealed that the evil Avengers team-up has come together to trap the Doctor within the Pandorica for eternity, because they think that he is the one ending the universe, because the TARDIS is exploding, and only he can pilot the TARDIS.
The cracks in time are the work of the Doctor, it is confirmed!
No, not me, the TARDIS, and I'm not in the TARDIS, am I?
Only the Doctor can pilot the TARDIS!
Please!
So they lock up the Doctor there for all eternity, and the universe starts to end. Great job, guys. Now, this part of the story I'm not really a fan of from the Daleks' perspective. I mean, only a season ago, the Daleks themselves were trying to end the universe, so the fact that they are joining forces with everyone to stop the Doctor from doing it doesn't make much sense to me. I also used to think it was weird that the Daleks would ally themselves with anyone instead of just killing them, but then I watched some more of the classic series and realised that, you know, old school Daleks would totally have done this, and it's just the RTD ones that were the outliers here. And so this tracks with Moffat's desire to sort of bring the Daleks back to their roots. But I do still have one issue here. Why don't the Daleks just kill the Doctor instead of trapping him? Like, they have him tied up, just shoot him. He's your ultimate enemy, he's right there. So anyway, the Big Bang story mostly focuses on Amy, Rory, the Doctor, and River Song trying to reboot the universe, and it is a really cool time-hopping, reality-bending sort of romp. But anyway, this is not a deep dive into Doctor Who episodes, this is a deep dive into the Daleks. So, in the Apocalypse timeline, the Pandorica has been found alongside a bunch of fossilized Daleks. Basically, the universe is ending, and so the Daleks have ceased to exist, but these fossils are like the after-images of the Daleks left on the skin of reality, or something like that. Anyway, in the future, the Doctor gets out the Pandorica, and the light from it hits one of the stone Daleks. Now, because a Pandorica is like the ultimate prison, it has some particles of the universe from, like, you know, before it ended. It's sort of like a save file for our version of the universe, and so it partially restores one of the Daleks. So the Dalek comes back to life and shoots the Doctor, and then gets killed by River Song in a pretty sick scene.
Mercy!
Say it again.
Mercy!
One more time.
Mercy!
And then the Doctor reboots the universe, and, you know, the episode ends. This episode is kind of notable because I think this is the last time the Daleks ever actually shoot and sort of exterminate. We get that sort of skeleton effect on someone in the Matt Smith era. I'm pretty sure. I don't remember all of the events of Time of the Doctor, but I think this might be it. And so the Stone Dalek looks really cool, like really, really cool. And I mean, the Paradigm Daleks without the stupid colour scheme is they look great, and the scene where it begs River Song for mercy is a good one. And I mean, there is some theories about which of the new Dalek Paradigm Daleks is the actual stone one, because basically in Pandorica opens, it's the drone, the Supreme, and the Eternal that beam into the Stonehenge, and because the blue strategist and the orange scientist props were the ones that were turned into the Stone Dalek props and effectively ruined, so we never even see the orange one again. Anyway, so it's not the Supreme that reanimates because the voice is not deep enough, and so some people have tried to figure out if it's the if the Dalek is the Eternal Dalek, whose purpose was never revealed, unfortunately, or just the drone. But Moffat's never given us an answer, unfortunately. People think it's the Eternal because, you know, it survived the end of the Dalek species kind of thing. I don't know. Also the concept of mercy, which is kind of interesting. But, so anyway, after this episode, we didn't see the Daleks for a whole season. They had a brief cameo where the Doctor was raiding the memory bank of a damaged Supreme Dalek to hit the nation-state quota, but the Daleks wouldn't show up again until Season 7 with maybe the worst Dalek episode of the relaunch, and definitely in the bottom 3 Dalek stories of all time, with Asylum of the Daleks. This episode is bad. It's terrible. I mean, let's get into it. So after not seeing the Daleks for a season, the Doctor, Amy, and Rory all get kidnapped by the new Dalek Empire and taken to the Parliament of the Daleks, so apparently they're democratic now. Also, the Supreme Dalek is now working second fiddle to the Dalek Prime Minister. Non-Emperor, the Prime Minister. He's elected, apparently. Sure. So we hit some problems immediately. The Doctor doesn't seem to care about the Daleks anymore. He was pretty nonchalant about them, actually. He makes jokes in their presence and seems to treat them just like any other enemy, which is a sharp departure from you know, how they've been treated in the relaunch. Like, 9 had a complete meltdown, 10 had a borderline meltdown, 11 had a meltdown originally when he saw them too, but now he just doesn't care. And, I mean, this is just kind of rough. And basically the Daleks, who now have these ridiculous minions with Dalek eye stalks in their heads. Like, what the hell is happening?
of the sky.
The asylum force field is impenetrable.
Turn it off.
It can only be turned off from within the asylum.
So the Daleks have kidnapped the Doctor and now call him the Predator. I'm not sure why, because in Parting the Ways he said that the Daleks' nickname for him was the Oncoming Storm, but now it's the Predator. And anyway, the Daleks have an asylum, and there's some problem down there. They think some Daleks are going to escape, and so they need the Doctor to help them destroy it. So now a few things. We're back to the Bronze Daleks, because I guess Moffat buckled to the fan criticisms about the new Paradigm Daleks. And the Paradigm Daleks are sort of like an officer class now, and they look great in this episode. They have this new metallic colour scheme, and they should have just led with this. They look fantastic. But anyway, the Daleks have an asylum for insane Daleks because they find the hatred of Daleks so beautiful that they refuse to destroy each other. In Victory of the Daleks, they literally just killed each other. In the classic series, they did it all the time.
You have failed! The Supreme Council does not accept failure!
So I'm not sure why this is a thing. But anyway, there's an asylum full of insane Daleks, and the Doctor, Amy and Rory get sent down to disable the shield that's surrounding it, so the Dalek mothership can just blow it up. And by it up, I mean the whole planet up. Now, this also weirds me out, because the Doctor is right there in a room with like 1,000 Daleks. They could just kill him. I understand that their sort of plan is to, like, send him down, they disable the shields, then they'll just blow the whole planet up with him on it. But, I don't know, it just seems weird that not one Dalek didn't have the self-control just to shoot him, but, Anyway, so with the help of this chick called Oswin, who's the last surviving member of a ship that crashed onto the planet, they navigate the Dalek Asylum, which is weirdly full of pretty much only Bronze Daleks. There's a few classic series Daleks, and even the Imperial Special Weapons Dalek lurking about, so that's pretty cool. But anyway, the Doctor goes to rescue Oswin because she crashed on the planet and she's boarded herself up in her ruins of her ship and she's trying to survive. But he finds out that she has actually been a Dalek this whole time. Like, she was a human and she's been turned into a Dalek. And she doesn't know because she just sort of refuses to realise that and has been imagining herself, stuck in the ship.
Does it look real to you?
Does what look real? Where am I?
Where am I?
And, I mean, that's dark. That's really dark, and that's kind of cool, because it's sort of been established that you can make humans into Daleks back in Parting of the Ways. But to forcibly turn someone into a Dalek is pretty messed up. But here's the thing. She's talked to the Doctor and everyone throughout the story, and she didn't sound like a Dalek.
Oh, that is cool. Tell me I'm cool, Chimboy.
So how does that work? Doesn't really work, does it? Doesn't make any sense. But anyway, she says she'll bring the shields down so the Doctor can escape, because the Daleks were just going to blow them up at the planet, as we said. And I don't know why she has the ability to do this, but whatever. And she also, at one point, when the Doctor's trying to get to her, he goes to the intensive care unit, where these are the Daleks that like survived the Doctor or something like that. But they're all Bronze Daleks, so it would have been cooler to see like a grey Dalek and a silver Dalek, an Imperial Dalek, or something like that, right? But anyway, she sort of, it's revealed that the Daleks have a hive mind, and which is a stupid idea, but anyway, revealed they have a hive mind, and she does a master delete on all information concerning the Doctor. So the Daleks just straight up forget the Doctor exists. So, but just hang on.
What did you do?
Hang on, I think I found the door thingy.
No, tell me what you did.
The Daleks, they have a hive mind. Well, they don't, but they have a sort of telepathic web.
The path web, yes.
I hacked into it, did a master delete on all the information connected with the Doctor.
And so anyway, the Doctor, Rory and Amy escape the Daleks asylum. The Daleks blow up the planet with the asylum on it, and then we get this just wacky scene where the Daleks forget who the Doctor is.
Doctor! Oh, Doctor!
That was when. Oh, you did it to them all. You beauty.
Doctor!
Why was this a scene in this show? They're his ultimate enemies. Why would you make them forget who he is? What a shit show. I mean, this entire premise is just disastrous. The Daleks would just kill any Dalek that's gone doolally. They wouldn't waste time with an asylum. I know Moffat wanted to try and come up with a way to, make the Daleks scary again, and landed on the whole, what happens to the Daleks that even the Daleks are scared of thing. well, they'd die, wouldn't they? The Daleks would just shoot them. That's the entire basis for sort of any sort of xenophobia, which the Daleks obviously exude. It's fear, right? But here's the other thing. Show, don't tell. You know, Dalek made us feel scared of the Daleks because we saw how destructive one Dalek could be. This just tells us that these Daleks are crazy. It doesn't really show us. You know, a room full of Daleks can't even kill Rory anymore. So, yeah, the Daleks just suck. The Parliament is a weird idea, and the obvious abandonment of the paradigm seems also weird to me. Like, why are we just back to the Time War Daleks without explanation? The Time War design is not the be-all and end-all. But, like, making the Daleks forget the Doctor, this is just a mess. I feel like the Osmond reveal, even though it makes no sense, is really good, but there should definitely have been a Cyberman story. This is a very common, like, criticism of this, but it's common because it's a pretty correct one. This is definitely a Cyberman story. The whole asylum thing, refusing to kill them, conversion into a Cyberman, asking the Doctor for help, like, that makes way more sense from a Cyberman perspective, not the Daleks, but I don't know. This is one of the worst Dalek episodes of all time. There's another contender coming up, and I mean, Destiny of the Daleks I think will always be the worst one, but like, so after this, the Daleks wouldn't get a dedicated episode again until the Capaldi era. However, they did show up in two specials, Day of the Doctor and Time of the Doctor, so I'm going to talk about both of them quickly here. So Day of the Doctor is the blockbuster 50th anniversary event, and I gotta hand it to the Moff, he did a pretty good job. This is one of the best episodes of his run, and I'm actually very impressed. Moffat gets a lot of hate, but he is the best writer Doctor Who has ever had. Not the best showrunner, by any stretch, but he is the best writer, and you can find me on that. But anyway, the Day of the Doctor focuses on the Time War Doctor trying to get out of having to, you know, kill the Daleks and the Time Lords alike with the moment. And so the Daleks feature as a background enemy. We basically witnessed the final Dalek offensive on Gallifrey in the last days of the Time War. It's a little underwhelming from the, you know, absolute cosmic horror fest that the RTD era hyped the Time War up to be, but this is a proper blockbuster event on a BBC budget, and, you know, there's a lot of great fan theories about this, saying that basically, like the original Thal versus Khaled war, the Time Lords and Daleks have used all their super weapons and stuff, and now they're just sort of throwing proverbial sticks and stones at each other, and with these societies, that's just lasers. But anyway, the War Doctor, with the help of 10 and 11, managed to sort of take Gallifrey out of the universe and hide it in a pocket dimension and trap it there. And because the Dalek fleet is surrounding the planet and shooting at it, the Dalek fleet ends up catching each other in their own crossfire and blow themselves up. And to the rest of the universe, it looks like both societies wiped each other out. Now, this actually does make some sense as to how so many Daleks survived the Time War, to be honest. But I really hate this retcon. But the Daleks are pretty much unchanged by it, so we won't go into it here. Not much to talk about. We do get a return of the Dark and Endless Dalek Night, which is nice. And we do get to see the Time War Daleks in all their glory one more time. And ironically, this would actually have been a lot cooler if the Sign of the Daleks had never happened. Because if we had only seen the new Paradigm Daleks up to this point, and then we got a return to the Time War ones, it would have been much cooler, but whatever, I'm just nitpicking at this point. And so the Daleks then showed up in Matt Smith's final story, Time of the Doctor. And here the Time Lords are trying to get back into the universe by getting the Doctor to give them his name. Now, like Pandorica Opens, the Daleks and basically every other Doctor Who villain ever has shown up to the planet Trenzalore, where the Time Lords are coming back to the universe. So the Daleks don't really feature that much. They shoot up a few people, and then their flagship gets destroyed by the Doctor after he gets a spiffy new set of regenerations from the Time Lords, and then, you know, yeah, he blows it up with his magic powers.
Love from Gallifrey, boys!
The Daleks also just refuse to shoot him for some reason, and then the Doctor makes fun of this, so it's kind of like a haha, like...
You will die, and the Time Lords will never return.
You still can't work up the courage to shoot me, can you?
I mean, even when the clock's back to Matt Smith's run, the Daleks did just shoot the Doctor on the spot in Big Bang, and then Journey's End, they also did it too in the RTD era, so... didn't really make much sense. But the Daleks are just kind of here. It's also theorised that the big ship that the Doctor blows up is the Parliament of the Daleks from Asylum of the Daleks, and that this is actually the end of the New Paradigm Daleks. Kind of a waste if you ask me, but it is sort of a way to just tie up loose ends. It becomes very clear that Moffat just gave up on the Daleks in the Smith run. All of his ideas had been poorly received, and that's because a lot of them just weren't very good. But so he just kind of relegated them to background monsters, and it's a bit of a shame. So the Daleks wouldn't reappear for a dedicated episode until Peter Capaldi's run with Into the Dalek. Now this is a really good Dalek story. I'd say this is the best one since Evolution of the Daleks. Moffat somehow pulled a good Dalek script out of his ass. And so originally this was an idea Moffat had for a Doctor Who video game, where the Doctor was miniaturised and you had to sort of like run around as a Dalek, but then he realised that this is actually a really good idea, and so he wanted to use it for a script in the show. Now, ironically, I actually think this would have worked better as a video game, but whatever. It's still one of the best Dalek episodes we've ever got in. It's the best Moffat Dalek episode, and it is actually quite a good story. So the 12th Doctor and Clara end up in the future where the Daleks are off at war with the humans. So this is basically a return to the 60s and 70s Daleks, where the human armies of the future are at war with the Daleks. There's also a neat continuation on from some throwaway lines in Parting of the Ways, where Roderick says that the Daleks all died hundreds of years ago, and Jack makes comments about how the Daleks used to be the biggest threat in the universe, hinting at that, they were a common thing to humanity. And we're just with the Time War Daleks again now, whatever. I mean, they are more practical, as I said, but, whatever. And anyway, the Daleks are chasing down this ship called the Aristotle, who have managed to capture a damaged Dalek, who the Doctor nicknames Rusty. So basically the Dalek has been damaged and is now confused. It doesn't really understand what being a Dalek is about anymore. It doesn't want to kill the humans, and it sort of wants to be helped. And so the Doctor, Clara, and a bunch of soldiers get miniaturised and sent inside the Dalek to repair this chemical leak thing that's hurting the mutant inside. The Doctor is now back to hating the Daleks, like he did in seasons 1 through 5, which is good. The return to form. Also, Capaldi is just straight up amazing in every scene. I forgot just how good this guy was as Doctor Who. But he wants to prove that, a Dalek can turn good. And this is something that has kind of been touched on before. In Dalek, the Dalek sort of went through a similar journey but refused to change, and Dalek Sec also goes through a similar metamorphosis. And anyway, so the Doctor wants to prove that even a Dalek can be redeemed, because he's currently having an actual character arc where he is questioning his own morality. And so the idea of a Dalek, turning good is comforting to him. Anyway, so the inside of the Dalek is an absolute death trap with all these little antibody things, and anyway, we have a fun little adventure. However, on the outside, the Daleks have breached the Aristotle, and we have a really good scene where the humans and Daleks have a big fight. So the Doctor manages to repair the damage of the Dalek, and then it just goes right back to being evil and starts killing all the humans. So the Doctor clambers up to the mutant, and basically he wants to know why the Dalek became good in the first place, and the Dalek tells him that it was damaged and saw the birth of a star, which made it sort of reevaluate the universe, and it realised beauty was a thing and all that, but it just turns out this is because it was damaged. And so he tries to get the Dalek to regain its previous greater understanding of the universe, but this doesn't work. So the Doctor melds his own mind with the Daleks to show it what it's missing. And this works for a moment, but then the Dalek sees the Doctor's own hatred of the Daleks.
I see beauty. I see divinity. I see hatred. Hatred. I see your hatred of the Daleks. The Daleks must be exterminated. Daleks are evil.
Rusty then goes on a killing spree of the Daleks' attack force, and the Doctor gets shown a bit of his own soul. Really good stuff. How the hell did Moffat write nothing but Dalek trash for 3 seasons, then drop this banger on us? So anyway, Rusty goes back off into the Dalek fleet, and the Aristotle escapes. And we do get a return of the you would make a good Dalek thing, which is nice. So this is really cool. It sort of examines the Doctor's own relationship with the Daleks and gives us a pretty neat thesis on it. The fact that the Doctor's attitude towards the Daleks is basically the Daleks' attitude towards everything else. And so because of this, all the Daleks can learn from the Doctor is hatred for the Daleks. And this is this is really good, and it seems like the spiritual sequel to Dalek in a lot of ways. It's not as good as Dalek, but it is good still. And Capaldi's heartbreak when he realises that he's taught the Dalek to hate Daleks, and It's just amazing writing and acting. And, I mean, this would make more sense to happen in between Victory of the Daleks and Asylum of the Daleks, because this episode kind of explains what the Doctor's attitude towards the Daleks might have changed. But, I mean, we can just pretend that this is the first episode since Journey's End to have a Dalek in it, right? I mean, that fight scene is really cool. It was all, 100% practical effects with, like, real Daleks exploding everywhere. And, it looks less impressive than some of the other fight scenes, but when you understand how they filmed it, it is much more impressive, actually. And, yeah. So the Daleks only get one more episode that is actually a Dalek episode in the Moffat run. Well, technically two, as it's a two-parter, but anyway, the Daleks next appeared in The Sorcerer's Apprentice and The Witch's Familiar. Now this episode is, well, 2 episodes. They're pretty bad. They might be worse than Asylum. I don't know if that's possible, but they're definitely up there. Or down there, I guess. Basically, the story opens, the Doctor is on Skaro during the Thal and Khalid War, and he sees his kid stuck in a minefield with these really creepy hand mines, that's a funny idea. Anyway, so the Doctor finds out that this kid is actually Davros, as in the Davros, and so the Doctor begins to wonder if he should just let him die, and so he actually does. He just abandons him.
In the future, introduce yourself. Tell me the name of the boy who isn't going to die today.
Davros. My name is Davros.
And then has a midlife crisis. However, in the future, Davros is currently dying. And so this is the return of Davros. Not sure how he survived Journey's End, or if this takes place before Journey's End. It's not really explained. But anyway, Davros is dying, and so he manages to get the Doctor, the Master, well, technically Missy, but anyway, and Clara to come to Skaro. So there's this new Dalek City, which is, the same one as the classic series, Dalek City, and Davros is chilling there dying. So notably, this is the first time since the Delgado years as the Master that the Master and the Daleks have actually been in the same episode, which is cool. That's cool. And anyway, we see this new Dalek Empire, and the Daleks kill Clara and the Master and destroy the TARDIS, leaving the Doctor with the dying Davros on Skaro. Psych, that was a cliffhanger. The Master got her and Clara out of the Dalek City, and then, they're going to sneak back in to save the Doctor. So they go to the Dalek sewers, and we get this really weird bit of Dalek lore. So basically, Daleks can't die of old age, at least, and so they just decompose into actual shit that stay alive. I mean, that's horrifying and completely unnecessary addition to the Dalek lore, but whatever. So Missy straight up just sort of stabs the Dalek and then kills it.
What are you doing? Murdering a Dalek. I'm a time lady. It's our goal.
And then Clara gets into the casing.
Get in.
And we get even more weird lore additions, like the Daleks say exterminate to reload. To reload what? They have a laser gun. There's no ammo. And anyway, I don't know what the hell's going on with Moffat here. He's just get another person to write this story, or just stick to the cameos, like, whatever. At some point, the Doctor gets into Davros' chair and rides about.
So, anyone for dodgems?
So Davros manages to trick the Doctor into giving his regeneration energy to him somehow. I can't remember, and I refuse to rewatch this episode because it's shit. And with the intention to give all of his power to the Daleks. But this also regenerates the dead Daleks in the sewers, and like a tidal wave of actual Dalek shit destroys the Dalek City. The Master tries to trick the Doctor into killing Clara, who's still inside the Dalek, but then he realises what's up, and then it turns out the TARDIS wasn't actually destroyed, it just kind of discombobulated, and then they put it back together, and they get the TARDIS and leave the Daleks to get literally shit on. And then the Doctor goes back in time and rescues Kid Davros, the end. So this episode's absolutely mad. It adds so much nonsense to the Dalek lore for no reason, and really doesn't do anything interesting. The Kill Baby Hitler thing was done in Genesis already. Doing Genesis with Davros instead of the Daleks is just cheap. The scenes between Davros and the Doctor are okay, but Journey's End did them better. It's also revealed that Davros has eyes, despite the fact that, he clearly doesn't. And in fact, in Big Finish, apparently it's been canonically stated that Davros' eyes burnt out. So the sewer thing is stupid. I mean, the episode just looks dumb. I understand that this episode actually has the highest number of actual Dalek props ever used, but the issue is that it makes no sense. It just looks like Capaldi showed up to a Dalek convention. And, there's no rhyme or reason to the Dalek designs here. We have the Red Supreme from Journey's End. We We have a bunch of bronze ones. We literally have Dalek Sec. There's not just a black Dalek, it's just straight a Dalek Sec casing. It's got the name tag on it. We have the OG silver and blue Daleks, and then we also have like the heavy weapons Dalek, but he's still in the Imperial colour scheme. Like, what is going on? At least give the heavy weapons Dalek a paint scheme that actually matches. And then, you know what, actually, please just pick an era of the Daleks to roll with. If you want the silver and blue ones, do that. Have the Supreme look like the OG Saucer Commander. Want the heavy weapons Dalek? Use Imperial Daleks then. I mean, Davros is here, it kind of makes sense. I don't know, this entire episode is just straight silly. The only stuff here that is particularly good is the stuff between Missy and Clara, but that's got nothing to do with the Daleks. And, I mean, we also did get to see Peter Capaldi playing an electric guitar while riding on a tank, so... And the Daleks wouldn't reappear for their own episode again until Jodie Whittaker's run in the TARDIS. They had 2 cameos in season 10, and we get to see them return in, we do get to see a return of the Movellans, which is cool, but the Movellans are fighting the Bronze Daleks.
Never mind, Dan. It's who they're firing at. The deadliest fire in the universe. Identify!
I mean, considering how only one Dalek prop was used here, it would have been much cooler to actually see a grey Dalek drone from the 70s here. You know, the Daleks that actually fought the Movellans. And then the Daleks also show up in a brief flashback during one of the Monk episodes, and then Rusty came back in Twice Upon a Time, which is a really good episode. But I'm not going to go into details though, as the Doctor just sort of goes to see him to get some info from the Dalek hive mind, and it's pretty mid. And that is the Steven Moffatt era of the Daleks. Not the best. There's about one good episode here, and a couple of passable ones, I guess, but I mean, let's talk about it. It's clear that Moffat doesn't understand how to write the Daleks. It's also clear that he doesn't really want to write the Daleks. I don't know why he didn't just outsource this to other writers. The Daleks lose all their grandiosity here. They lose their edge, they just become jokes. They sort of become the stereotype that everyone sort of came to associate them with. I actually think the classic series treats them better than this era does. Like, there's just so much wrong with this. Like, the lack of people that they kill, the Doctor's attitude towards them is all off. They're played for jokes a lot. There's no rhyme or reason or continuity to how this really adds up to any of the previous eras of Doctor Who. And Moffat can't settle on a design. Like, he went all in on these Dalek paradigm designs and then backed out. He should have just committed. He should have just told the story he wanted to tell with the new Dalek paradigm and just moved on. Like, going back to the Time War Dalek seemed really cheap. Like, and then just adding in classic series Daleks, higgledy-piggledy, it doesn't make any sense. Like, I appreciate the fact that he was trying to take them back to their classic series selves. The RTD Daleks were quite different to how the Daleks had become to you know, how the Daleks were in the original series. The only episodes in the RTD era where they really play like the OG Daleks is Evolution of the Daleks and Daleks in Manhattan. But so I understand what he was going for, but it doesn't work. Like, yeah, fundamentally just very, very weak, and obviously had no interest in writing them. And I think this is one of the problems with the whole Daleks have to appear in every season thing. With Russell T Davies, it felt like an event whenever the Daleks showed up. Whenever they showed up, you know, shit was about to get real. With the Moffat era, they're just kind of there. Like, the Cybermen actually get a lot more finales than the Daleks do, to the point where I think the Daleks get like one finale, and they're not even the main monster. They're just there. I don't know. It's really weak, and although I think Chris Chibnall is absolutely dreadful, his Dalek episodes are pretty good. I've got to give credit to him, which we will be talking about in the next and final installment of this series, where we do tackle the, I think, 3 dedicated Dalek episodes from the Chris Chibnall era. But man, Moffat cannot write them. It's just a mess. They lose all their seriousness. Thanks very much for watching, and if you've been here following through all of the Dalek deep dives, although if you're from the UK, I don't think you can watch the first one because I think it's still domain blocked, but anyway. Thank you for sticking through the journey. If you just came onto this and you like the Daleks, you can check out my other videos about the Daleks. And if you want to help me out, like, share, subscribe, and you can even buy one of my books or check out one of my short stories, because I do write. and you can see how good or bad my stuff is if you want. So thank you very much, and I'll see you next time for the Chris Chibnall era of the Daleks.